1986 was, of course, the collapse of the oil industry and the impact that was having on the city. And the deficit that we were facing, about a $30 million deficit at that time. And, you know, we had to deal directly with the budget because we took office in May and the budget had to be balanced at the end of the year. So in effect, even though it was $30 million, we had roughly 6-7 months to solve that problem. Economically, we were suffering, the city was suffering because of the collapse of the oil industry and many of the oil companies moving out of the city, many of the jobs of people who worked in the oil industry being closed. Many people left town. And when we took over, the unemployment rate was 13.5%. So, I mean, what people are talking about today gives you an idea the impact that oil had on the city, because when that collapsed, then the unemployment rate was staggering. And everywhere I went, you know, people would say, Mayor, my children need work. I need a job. Mayor, I need a job. So I wanted to bring some jobs here to the city. And that's when we started a real concerted effort at economic development. And I'm pleased to say that we accomplished that. When I left, the unemployment rate was about 7%. Basically, I had two major goals when I became mayor. One was to get enough revenues into the city treasury so that the city could be adequately financed and you could provide the kind of services that the citizens really wanted and needed. And I think we were able, through casino gambling, through the refinancing, we were able to put in place some revenue measures, and because of the deficit, put in place some revenue measures that generated, you know, much more revenue. I would estimate that maybe we generated an additional $100 million in the treasury of the city, and that was very, very helpful. Without those revenue measures, I don't think we would have been able to do half the things we did. We began to freeze vacant jobs. We started a process of reducing the number of employees we had. So we probably laid off close to 1,000 workers. We privatized entirely the garbage collection. So that helped to reduce the city payroll by about 300 people. And we also went on a 4-day work week for several months. So we closed City Hall on Fridays. That meant a real 20% reduction in the budget and, of course, in the pay of city employees, but they got Friday off. So I think that helped out, that eased the pain a little. The mayor and the city council, we went first and took a 20% cut in our pay, which also, I think, eased the pain of the workers, because we weren't asking them to bear the whole burden. We also said it wasn't right to have the city employees take a 20% hit without us doing the same thing. I guess the biggest issue was that we didn't expect was the federal government cutting out the revenue sharing. That was about $30 million coming to the city. So when the city cut that, I mean the federal government cut that out, you know, that had another major impact on our budget. And some of the aid from the state was cut out. So, you know, it was difficult to find ways to make the budget work and provide the services that the people needed. So we kept trying to find innovative ways to generate revenues. With gaming coming on, it helped to make a big difference because not many people realize that the casino generates about $20 million for the city that goes directly into the general fund. That was big, big help. Plus we got $35 million up front from the casino lease. In that situation, we had to find a creative way, and that's why I supported gambling. I supported it because we didn't have to invest a lot of money in building a casino, that the private sector was going to do that, and we could get some money into the treasury of the city without raising people's taxes. So I thought that worked very well, and it's proven to be very, very helpful to the city, and because that was one of the first industries to come back after the hurricane. You know, the one casino idea was my idea, and we made that happen, but the thing that we did that was ingenious was we put it on city property so that we didn't have to fight the legislature for a piece of the wind tax that the state was getting. We had a lease with the casino that we were able to generate revenues. We get 3% of the gross from the casino because it's on our land, it's on the city's land. And it might have been controversial in some people's mind, but it was really necessary. And I think many people begin to see now that it was necessary. It's still necessary because it helped us to fight off the competition from the Gulf Coast that had several casinos. And it generates revenues that we're able to use to help provide city services to the city of New Orleans. So I'm extremely pleased about those things that we were able to do. It really, unfortunately, with the former governor, Buddy Roma, it was not that good. It was a strained relationship. We really wound up working with him and trying to help him because all of the mayors agreed that we would reduce the tobacco tax to help the state out. But we were hoping that once the state got on a sound footing that they in turn would help us. We recommended some issues such as a lottery with the city getting a piece of it, the cities around the state. So we always worked in conjunction with the rest of the cities around the state. You know, it wasn't just New Orleans. But the governor, for some reason, didn't particularly care for New Orleans, and so it was a struggle. But when Edward got elected, he really liked New Orleans, and he wanted to help New Orleans, and he was very, very helpful. So I had a great relationship with him. To give you an example, when we brought Pick and Save here, you know, I was able to call him and say, Governor, you know, we need an overpass over the railroads because Pick and Save said, you know, we can't have our trucks waiting 15, 20 minutes while the train passes. So he asked how many jobs. I told him it would be 1,100 statewide and about 250 here. And we needed an overpass. And he said, well, can you get your legislator to introduce an amendment to the capital outlay bill? I said, yes. He said, well, we'll support it. And so I got John Johnson to introduce an amendment to the capital outlay bill for $11 million to build the overpass. And we were able to build the overpass, and we got Pick and Save here. So, and they built a $60 million facility because it was going to be a regional distribution center. We took a concerted effort at improving our tourist industry, and we started the marketing committee that started to market discretionary tourists within a 500-mile radius, and they started to bring people in on the weekends, and then whenever the convention business was down, the marketing committee helped to fill up the beds in all our hotels. So that was really a major help to address the economic malaise that existed because of the downturn in oil. When I proposed the basketball arena, many people thought I was crazy because we didn't have a basketball team. But I knew that we had to provide some incentive if we were ever going to get another basketball team here. So if we had an arena that was an NBA arena, then when they're looking at expanding franchises for the NBA, we would have something to offer. We may not be a big market, but we would offer a basketball arena that was built. So I proposed that to Governor Edwards, and we had a compromise because Jefferson wanted the baseball stadium for the Zephyrs, and I said we could support that, but we needed something of our own. And he said, what do you want? And I said, we need a basketball arena. So he agreed, and he accomplished it with the legislature, and we got the basketball arena. I worked with the Republicans to get the Republican convention here. And then we had a concerted effort from the metropolitan area to make that a success. We had many people from Jefferson, St. Bernard, and St. Tammany to work at helping cleaning up the city. We had a 300-voice choir for the prayer breakfast from all over the metropolitan area. I mean, there was really a cooperative effort on all of the people. So it can work, you know, people can work together. And I think that the next mayor is going to need to have those skills to bring people together to solve the many problems that we face, as we did with, you know, with the Republican convention.
And I guess my last question would be, having been in city politics for a good amount of time prior to being mayor, and having been mayor for 8 years, and I'm sure working with people since, what do you think the most important qualities are for a mayor to have to be successful in New Orleans?
Well, New Orleans is a diverse city. And I think that a mayor has really got to make a concerted effort at bringing people together, because, you know, the mayors have a lot of authority, but they are only one person. And you need the help of the business community, you need the help of the various sectors within the community. You have to work with the council, you have to work with the legislature, you have to work with your congressional delegation. So the mayor's got to be the catalyst to bringing all that together. And you have to get people to understand that we're a unit, you know. As a city, we have to work together. We're not going to solve the problems that we face by fighting each other. We're only going to solve them by working with each other.